For an island its size, Sri Lanka is teeming with biodiversity and wildlife. From the montane cloud forests to the tropical rainforests and grasslands, our forests are vital in maintaining environmental equilibrium. But you already know this. What you may not know is that Sri Lanka has lost nearly 50% of its forest cover in just the last 50 years. Now, a controversial circular could endanger more of our forests. You've probably heard of Circular 5/2001, but to understand why it has been in the news recently, you need to first understand why it was introduced. Circular 5/2001 was issued in August 2001.
Now, Circular number 5 of 2001 is quite historic, handing over the management of the land previously managed by the divisional secretaries to be now managed, developed and protected by the Forest Conservation Department.
This was amended by Circular 2/2006, issued in May 2006, to allow the release of barren, unforested lands for development activities. Both these circulars protected what is referred to as other state forests. These are forests that do not have any legal protection under the Forest Conservation Ordinance. They are not significantly different to other types of forests except in their definition. Fast forward to 2020, where plans are underway by the government to identify lands for agricultural expansion. The circulars were considered an obstacle to this process, and it was announced that the Ministry of Wildlife and Forest Conservation would cancel Circular 5/2001 and subsequent circulars, and replace it with the new circular, NW-FC 1/2020.
When the 2020 circular came, transferring all this land from the Forest Department back to the divisional secretaries, it was quite surprising, because I think the 2001 and the 2006 circulars are adequate for developing unforested lands.
A controversial decision that allows over 300,000 hectares of other state forests, an area almost 100 times the size of Colombo, to be used for agriculture or development purposes.
Look at new circular is premature. I think it was not timed, not properly drafted.
When decisions are made at a decentralized level, particularly in Sri Lanka, and experience has shown that it is subject to quite a lot of political pressure. In a situation like that, issues such as ecosystems and ecosystem services may be neglected while making decisions to hand out land for development.
The rationale given by the cabinet spokesman claimed that activities of chaina farmers, those that engage in a type of slash and burn farming, were being affected by the circulars.
If the government's objective is to increase agricultural productivity, they should first look at the level of productivity of existing agricultural land. Sri Lanka's productivity per unit area of existing agricultural land is very low.
With other state forests more vulnerable to encroachment, we could lose nearly 15% of our forest cover.
Development of forested lands, as the 2020 circular seems to imply, is completely contrary to the government's own development plan. The manifestos that are development plans, so the manifesto for the current president, which is called Vistas for Prosperity and Splendor, has committed to increase forest cover by 30%. While on the one side you are talking about increasing forest cover, on the other side you are destroying existing forest cover. So it doesn't really make sense.
It is estimated that 30% of montane forests that serve as critical watersheds could be impacted if other state forests are not managed properly.
Ecosystems provide services that are needed by humans for development. Water availability and water quality, recharge of the aquifers, and soil fertility are a few such ecosystem services that these forested ecosystems will be providing. Forests are destroyed, And the development that is resulting from such destruction of forests will not be sustainable due to the reduction of water, which is the lifeline for any type of development, agricultural or otherwise.
Endemic and endangered species could be driven to a point of extinction if their only habitat is situated within these forests.
Connectivity of ecosystems is essential for the survival of wildlife, mainly to ensure genetic diversity. Fragmentation will ensure the loss of genetic diversity because there will be inbreeding taking place, which in the long term will result in reducing Sri Lanka's biodiversity. There is a myth that elephants can be confined to protected areas. The elephants are going to break their fences and come out as they have been doing for the last 60 years because we've been trying this for 60 years and the conflict should be reducing by now. It is increasing every year. That shows that trying to confine elephants to these wildlife department forests are not working.
But it's not all bad news. The new circular mentions environmentally sensitive categories of land not suitable for development.
I'm happy to see the word land sensitivity. What is important is using that window of opportunity. But then comes the question, how do we identify which parcels of lands are sensitive? I think that is the healthy dialogue that we need today if we are to talk about both conservation and development. Hope for me is one day to see at each divisional secretariat level a map, a land use map that indicates what are the environmentally sensitive areas so that that land is never touched and it is set aside for our own benefit and for our continued development of the country.
What is the fate of our forests?
There is interconnectivity between forests, diverse ecosystems, ecosystem services, and development. One cannot endure without the other.
We don't own the land, we are stewards of it. It is our responsibility to see it preserved and cared for. Future generations of Sri Lankans should be able to experience the wonder and benefits of our forests as we do. What will you do to protect our forests?